Here we go. 2 minutes on each then. We will start with a Cheltenham review, which is going to come in during the new year. We assume BHA-inspired review because of the fatalities at the Cheltenham Festival last year. Should anything change at Cheltenham, Oliver? Would you change anything at Cheltenham, safety-wise or welfare-wise?
No, is the answer. I think it was unfortunate what happened the other previous meeting with those horses ducking out. I've never seen that since I've been racing at Cheltenham, so I personally think they do a really, really good job.
But in terms of reflecting on what was an unusual number of fatalities at last year's festival, Neil, obviously the BHA have to do a bit of investigation into that. Are there any fences you take out or replace, or would you take field sizes down?
Yeah, I think it was just very unfortunate. But, you know, Cheltenham obviously is it's our World Cup as jump trainers, and it's the most speed and the most, you know, competitive racing probably all year in England, and unfortunately when you're pushing as hard, that's when accidents happen.
Yes.
When you race horses at full tilt, whether it's on the flat or over jumps, accidents will happen and there will be fatalities. If you bring down the field sizes, then obviously you will have fewer fatalities. My own view on this is that the best barometer for this is your consumer base. The Cheltenham Festival seems to be extremely popular with the racing public. It seems to be sold out. It seems to get big audiences on TV. Now, if that changes, you listen to your audience and you make changes. My impression of it at the moment is that it is sufficiently popular that one shouldn't necessarily make changes. Of course, fatalities are very sad, but they are a natural consequence of what happens when you race horses at full tilt. You know, there's nothing that will ever change that.
Right, we move on. Beckett is Rafe Beckett, and his views on how we might better police the whip regulations. This is your...
Oh, God,
This is very much in your wheelhouse.
Right. Well, before you look at the... I'm sorry to be a jurisprudence bore, but before you look at the punishments for an offence, you have to revisit the offence. In my opinion, for all the many things we have to thank Jamie Steer for, the whip rules are a dog's breakfast, and they are a dog's breakfast because of the numbers 7 and 8. Thunder Snow, Soumion's ride in the Breeders' Cup. The reason that was abhorrent was because he was hitting the horse with too much force. The horse was losing its balance. It was trying to run forward but couldn't because he was belting it, and he was belting it too often and wasn't giving it time to respond. We're hung up on the numbers. What Rafe Beckett said, I've no problem.
So what does Rafe Beckett say?
Well, Rafe Beckett's argument is essentially that those who transgress the whip rules, that they shouldn't just get, you know, 2 days off when it's, you know, Plumpton and Warwick, or
hit him where it hurts.
Yeah, they should miss 2 days of the Cheltenham Festival. I don't have a problem with the idea of that take on punishments, but the statute is wrong and it should be revisited now that Jamie Steer's gone back to Australia.
Oliver, what do you think about just hitting the jockeys harder where it hurts?
Yeah, but the jockeys, it's such a difficult one. But on the flat, if Frankie Dettori was banned for 3 days during Royal Ascot, a lot of the crowd go and see Frankie Dettori ride at Ascot. They don't necessarily go and see a horse run. They go and see Frankie. He's a front man for racing. I wouldn't have won a Hennessy. Leighton got done for hitting him more. I think the number thing is a huge one. Personally, I think it should be at the discretion of the stewards. As in Ireland, the Soumian thing in the Breeders' Cup, I watched that. It looked horrendous.
But those but it wasn't because there was contact 18 times. Look at Ryan Moore. If he, who's a superb exponent of the whip, if he were to hit a horse 18 times, it would be in the right place, not with excessive force, with time to respond, and it wouldn't be an abhorrent spectacle.
You've been beaten by the bell.
Yeah, beaten by the bell. I know.
Dan Skelton gets a couple of goes here. First of all, because he had a 4-timer yesterday. His brother Harry rode a 5-timer yesterday. He beat Martin Pipe to the fastest century of winners. I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen, Neil. I mean, you know Martin Pipe extremely well. Did anyone ever think anyone was going to get to 100 quicker than him? And to be able to churn out the numbers of winners that Dan Skelton's doing is quite remarkable. Yeah,
obviously the Skelton brothers are doing a fantastic job. They're a great team working together. And obviously the Pipes reinvented racing, really, didn't they? And what they did was remarkable, but, you know, you can always be knocked off your perch, and you should always be waiting for that to happen. There's always people coming along to try and better you. And but what they've done is really good, and fair play to them.
I mean, Oliver said he wouldn't want to train 150 horses. Now, you train a lot of horses. Is your view as a young trainer that bigger is better? The more horses, the better?
You know, you need to keep your name in the limelight as much as possible. You need to be having winners, and I think having winners leads you on to more success. And it seems to be that's the way it's going. People need plenty of horses. If you ask Gordon Elliott how many horses he has,
he wouldn't know.
Well, his answer is not enough. You know?
Yeah, that's the case though? Now, there are more trainers who think, right, just give me more, give me more horses.
It's not just racing. It's everything in life now. Big is better. You know, the football clubs are getting bigger, the supermarkets are getting bigger, the fields are getting bigger. Everything's big. It is numbers. I'm not saying it's not wrong. It's got to be right in some ways. But I'm just saying, if I was 30 years younger, I'd be exactly the same. I'd want to train 150 horses. You want to join the echelons of the big boys.
And you had numerically the biggest stable in the country.
I did. I built my yard had 18 boxes when I started. It went up to 60. But then in 1984, 85, that was a big yard. It's now a middle-sized yard.
Bigger, better. Well, the Skeltons are certainly dominating, and Harry Skelton had 5 winners yesterday, 4 of those for his brother Dan, and it was Dan who mooted the idea earlier in the week that we should actually do more for summer jumping, more summer racing, and a big summer festival a la Galway. Neil, would that work here, do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's just something that definitely needs to be spoken about, because, you know, unfortunately, like we just had, we're in the middle of the Cheltenham, you know, November meeting, but everybody's already talking about, you know, March. You know, it's all about Cheltenham and March, you know, whereas on the flat you have your Goodwoods, you have your Ascots, you know, you've got your Chester. You know, I do think that jump racing could do with a summer festival.
But they have tried, not so much summer festival, they tried with other festivals. They tried the Newbury, the Ladbroke now, what was the Hennessy. They've had festivals there, and everything does lead. I think everything does evolve around Cheltenham, the festival in March, which I think is slightly sad in some ways. Much as I adore Cheltenham, we always want to have Cheltenham. We always have runners at Cheltenham. But you could have a runner at Cheltenham finishing 6th who could have missed out on a 50 grand handicap the week after or the week before. But as I said earlier, I'm not a big one for summer jumping, but you have to move with the times. It's here to stay, and I think they have small festivals at market racing, but it's rather overshadowed by the flat racing. When there is flat racing here, when the flat racing, big meetings come into play. In Ireland, you have your Curras, and then you have your Listowels and Trelease and what have you. Not Trelease, now it's gone. But I think you've got to have a bit more summer with bigger prize money. I'm not sure about the listed races, which Dan was talking about, having listed races come into play, having more of those. I don't know, but I think you've got to have more festivals, definitely.
I prefer a big festival around Christmas time. Like, whether you link Ascot and Kempton, Cheltenham has become a behemoth, is that the right word? And personally, I don't like that. You know, Desert Orchid we wouldn't speak about in the same terms if he hadn't slogged up the mud to beat Yahoo in 1989. And I would like a big money festival, probably taking in more than one course over the Christmas period. The Dublin Racing Festival is going to be a success in February. Obviously they've had one of them. That's what I would like to see.
What we don't like to see is emails like this being sent to trainers. We've discussed this a little bit before, but Henry Daly sent me this yesterday, and he's a guest on the show next week. This is what he got from Mr. Jones. Well, you can read it for yourselves, but the point is, it's hate mail, and trainers are getting this now on a daily basis, Oliver, and something's got to be done to stop these people, because it's outrageous. The horse he's talking about, the Artful Cobbler, incidentally, I don't know whether the horse has survived. It was in doubt at the end of yesterday with a fractured navicular bone.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were talking about it before the show. We get it day in, day out, Neil and I. We get emails or texts, because we're in the public eye now. Everybody's got our mobile numbers and everything. We get it the whole time. And they are the proverbial keyboard warriors. They wouldn't say it to your face. And the best person of the lot, actually, is Kim Bailey. Kim, I always take the mickey out of Kim, because he gets anything like this, or gets a mobile phone number, he rings them up and tries to explain to them, well, actually, and they're so shocked to get a phone call that you get the odd one who would argue that black was white, and they're so shocked they actually thank him for making the effort to do it. But you get some hot, I mean, that's tame to some of the ones we do get, and that I'm talking about death threats and everything like that.
Yeah, and that's
you know,
what
that
I'm
gets
saying.
a bit personal when you get the family involved.
And presumably, if this is a police matter, isn't it? Surely.
Certainly, when I got calls to my mobile from 3 individuals from withheld numbers, I went to the police station and said, you know, I'd like you to make a record of what's happened. The thing that they did say, as you say, these people are essentially cowards. If their IP address is on an email sending you a thing and say, I'm going to beat you up, the one thing that Catford Police Station said to me was that you can be assured none of these 3 individuals will lay a glove on you because they've told you they're going to do it. If there is a newsboy hater who's going to bash you over the head with an iron bar, he won't tell you he's going to do it before he does.
I just don't believe one of those exists, a newsboy hater. We're all newsboy lovers on this programme. Yeah. But unfortunately for you, fob teas haven't. They're back. There's just weekly. We just call this the fob tea section. Talk about fixed odds betting terminals for 2 minutes every week. Here you go, Yatesy. Because the story does develop every week. That's why it's there.
Well, it does. I mean, it's an issue that cost Tracy Crouch her job, or that she resigned over the delay, which was going to be till October, wasn't it? That
of 2019, and now they brought it forward to April
back
again.
to April, or I think it was April originally, wasn't it? And yeah, the reduction of stakes has gone from, what, 100 quid to 2 quid. It seems to me, again, from a jurisprudential point of view, that once you've enacted a law for the public good, then it should become law as soon as you can make it. And so a 6-month delay didn't seem to make any sense to me at all. So personally, I must say I was yet to be convinced that fob-tea gambling was more injurious or more pernicious than any other form of gambling. I must say that I don't think there is hard evidence for that, but the conclusions pretty much across the House were that it was, hence the law, and so the 6-month delay didn't seem to make much sense to me.
But the point is that whilst this is perceived as a positive in terms of our ethics, it is going to cost horse racing.
Yes, it's going to cost money, but you know, if the government has established that a crack cocaine factory is bad for society, the fact that it's going to close earlier and cost jobs is essentially a price that has to be paid. Do you see what I mean by that? That across the House, they seem to have, obviously have agreed that that is a social ill. It's going to cost the bookmaking industry, the fact that it's come back from October to April. No question about that.
Well, that is one problem that racecourses will have to face. Obviously, Towcester Racecourse faces rather more fundamental problems as to how to proceed and how to continue. And Towcester's a place where you have a lot of runners, or have had a lot of runners.
I love Towcester. It'd be very sad if we lose it. But I think that's half the enjoyment, or why people love British racing or English racing so much, is the diversity of it. Everything's different. Every racecourse is different. You're right-handed, uphill, downhill, left-handed. I think in other countries it's much the same. Towcester is arguably the stiffest track in England, along with possibly Carlisle, I would say. And it's a lovely small track. I think personally, again, I think it was ruined a little bit by putting the greyhound track where it is. I'd love to have it the old way back. The old course back, 'cause it's rather lost its viewing capacity with the greyhound track there. It's Captain Forster's favourite track years ago.
No, you can see why.
He said it's a very good track for slow horses.
It's a lot of people's favourite track. A lot of people love Towcester. Dave, what does the landscape look like for it?
Well, I think it's more encouraging as a result of the news this week, isn't it? That the company that was formed in October, that Lord Hesketh is linked to, they might end up getting a very good deal, actually. I agree with Oliver. It's the first track I ever visited, actually. I don't think aesthetically it was done many favours by the greyhound track. Looking across from the press room and seeing the verdant vista, that church spire in the distance, is one of my, treasured memories, and I hope that it can be saved. And I think it's like Oliver says, the diversity of British racing is its great selling point.
Neil, do you run many at Towcester?
Yeah, we've had plenty of runners there in the past, Nick. As it's been mentioned a couple of times already, just the viewing hasn't been helped by the greyhound course. But yeah, it's been a good track, and seems to have a good following on a regular basis.
Well, we shall watch this space as regards the future of Towcester. Those were this week's talking points.